Welcome to Squirrel's Woodshop. Today I'm going to take my Delta dust collector and make it more compact and wall mounted. So I'm going to take a few measurements and get ready to start on this. Here I'm using some soffit material I had to make the cyclone part that will go onto the bottom of the dust collector. And after getting it all cut out, I had this form I made. It was the size of the dust collector and the opening I wanted at the bottom and the length. So it was like a 15-inch to a 6-inch opening. Then getting it kind of all formed and rolled in place and taped and secure. So I'm going to put a few pop rivets up and down through there and get it all sealed up. Next, I have some brackets I found in the shop that I can modify to use to mount it to the wall. Next, I'm going to cut the mounting plate for the dust collector to sit on. That way you're going to have an opening in the bottom for the intake of the piping coming into it. Next, we've got the mounting plate cut. We're going to check, make sure the clearances are good on it. Then we're going to take some mounting strips and glue down on it so we'll have a place for our brackets to mount to. Here we got the brackets cut down like we want, so we're drilling a hole so we can mount to our bottom plate. Next, we're going to cut some mounting blocks that will go onto our bottom plate and our dust collector to secure it in place. Here, once we've got our mounting plate down, we're going to put the dust collector up and secure it and see if everything looks like it should be. Now we're ready to start running the main trunk line for our dust collector. My son-in-law came over and gave me a hand with this, and we're pre-drilling a hole for a collection to come up to our miter saw where we have a on-off port for it. After cutting our port for the miter saw, and now we can measure and get our piping like we want for the first section to go in. We're taping all these up and still glue them in case we're going to do some modification later on down the road or add or take away. So that way we don't have to worry about putting new pipe in. We just untape it and redo it. And there's the first section. We got just the main trunk line on one part of the wall already. Next, I make these filler strips that fit our cyclone and our dust collector at a 15-degree angle, and they'll be put in place a little bit later. Now we got our gates in and the reduced ports. Got my light sanding, so when I put this epoxy on, everything will be good and tight and secure. I was going to use the rubber boot came with it, but the rubber boot kind of interfered with the handle to open the gate up and down, so I decided to epoxy them together, which works really great. They fit exactly together and should have no problem out of them. Next, I'm using a 6-inch flange I ordered to go on the bottom of the cyclone. I decided to cut the flange off of it and give a bit of it better fit and silicone it in place. And here we are putting another branch off the main trunk line for a cutoff port. And that'd be one of 4 we'd be putting in. And here we're pre-drilling the main body of the collector to install the spacer rings we made for the cyclone. Now we got the filler rings in place. We put a bead of silicone around the outside edge here. That way we can set our cyclone up on top, get good and level, and secure it in place. And once we got it all secured in place, going to put a coat of paint on it. That way make it look more uniformed. Now we're cutting the top plate that will fit on top of the collector. And it'll have a little recess in it that will set down on a ledge on the inside of the collector and be secured in place. And we'll have a 4-inch hole for the exhaust to come out. Now we got our piping run. We're going to install the collector on its mount and get it secured in place. And we got the 4-inch elbow we're going to tape in place to keep it in the center while we mark the holes to mount it with. And we got some silicone weather stripping we're going to put around the port to put it in place. That way if we ever have to take it off, we can just unscrew it and take it off. And if we got that mounted, we're going to put it up there and square it up to the wall and get the markings on the wall where we're going to drill our hole for the port to go out. Now if we got that hole drilled, we're going to mark for the center part of the outside wall so we get dead center and get a hole out through the outside wall. That way everything will be lined up. Now with the holes all drilled and everything, we put our pipe in, get everything lined up like we want it, and we'll put some tape on it to have some reference points. So when we take it off to mount it, we can line everything right back up and and be ready to go. Now this is the lid, the barrel I'm going to be using. It's about 1/8 inch thick, so I'm still going to make a backing ring to put on it to mount the flange to give it a little bit more extra strength. Now I'm going to drill a hole for a viewport, about 2.5 inch hole, and then cut a piece of plexiglass and epoxy in place so I have a viewport to see when the barrel is getting full. Now with all that done, it's time to mount the lid of the barrel to the bottom of the cyclone. So we got everything silicone in place and put it up there and screw it to our flex duct we already installed already. Now here's a view of our DeWalt miter saw. I bought this new dust collection system to put on it, and it does a fantastic job. It's got its own port, so it's a little difficult to reach back there and turn that port off and on when I wanted to. So I made this little rig here to remotely, you might say, open and close it, and I get ready to use it. Here's some more of the ports we put down the line there. We got coming off the wall, and then we got one going behind the lay, and it goes to our lay there. We undo it and put our table saw onto it, and it looks pretty neat. It's all compact, out of the way, using a barrel we got off Amazon, and the barrel is actually 3 gallon more than the bag I had on the dust collector. So anybody could put a bigger barrel if they wanted to. They're just more weight you have to move around to empty, so I decided to go to the size I had. Here's some of the ports I'm going to be using. This is for my sanding holes from the table. It reaches all over the table, which is good. One off my bandsaw was pretty handy to slip it right in there. And then I got one from a joiner and then one from a planer that I can hook in different ports. And all my equipment I put on stands. I can roll it around all over the shop. I can reconfigure the shop like I want it because I got a small shop and need the space. As you can see, everything kind of goes in its place there. The planer and hook up to the port down below it, and I got one that I can come off of with my skill saw to that port, or I can take it and go to the back of the lay and use that port, so it's pretty versatile. Now here I'm checking the wind speed at the featherless port with just one port open. I'm getting 73, 74 miles per hour, which that converts to 875 CFM, which is pretty good since the dust collector is only rated at 750. And here we got all the ports open and around about 40 miles per hour, which is 480 CFM, with all of them open. And I think the filter being off of it and exhaustion out is keeping the CFM on up there where it should be. Here I'm checking at the hose, one port open, because I know a hose will take away from some of the CFM, but I'm pulling 63 miles an hour, which is 755 CFM, which is, I think, is pretty good. Here's my shop. It's a small shop, but everything's got its place and everything's mobile. Got it on rollers. I can move it around as I need to. I've done 8-foot dining tables in here, no problem. And being a small shop, you don't have to walk a whole lot. You kind of reach around and get what you want, and open the door up, get a lot of air, got ventilation in it, and heat. It's pretty neat, I think. It works for me, and so I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.